Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And welcome to our special Open Up live talk show. My name is Dipchand Ramcharitar, and I am the Outreach and Development Coordinator at Voice of Men 360. We have a very special guest today, Al Johnson of Bullies Be Gone in California. But before we get to Al, I would just run through some information about our group and a disclaimer as well. Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 and is based in London, Ontario, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to provide services to help support and overcome men, boys' life challenges. We are part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for over 21 years, and so far 90 countries around the world joined together and doing various activities regularly. International Men's Day follows six pillars, which is the overall well being of boys and men. We follow in those same footsteps. Why open up? Well, because men do not open their hearts and are willing to share their matters with anyone. When we keep our emotional challenges within ourselves for a longer time, at some point they will explode and it will affect our health conditions in many ways. This is why we want to create an open space and allow an individual to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness above the life challenges, struggles, overcomes, ups and downs that our boys and men go through their lives. There are no limitations with gender. All walks of life can participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is usually on Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, while it's at 7 p.m. Sometimes as well. And you will obviously be notified of that. We bring an individual to each show and let them share their life experiences with you. Before I introduce our special guest for today, I would just like to go through quickly our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not necessarily represent Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of these issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We are not providing medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. So here we go with today's special guest, Al Johnson of Bullies Be Gone of California. So welcome to the show, Al.
Thank you, Dipchand. Thank you for having me. Appreciate that.
More than welcome, Al. So let's start off, let's dive right in. First of all, tell us a bit about your background, including the martial arts program.
Well, my background mainly is in the field of education, special education. Taught to secondary level, high school, middle school, and mainly high school. After 4 years of being in the Navy and going to college, and I also at the same time opened my own martial arts studio, and I was running my martial arts studio full time, and I was teaching full time, which was quite a chore, but that has led me to where I am now with the anti-bullying program, the Bullies Be Gone project. And that's I was raised in Kansas City, Missouri, USA, and went to the Navy at 8 right after high school. So that's pretty much my background from there to now.
Wow, it's been quite a journey for you all. You've certainly been through a lot, and you've seemed to weather the storm pretty well. How Tell us how you got involved with the anti-bullying campaign.
The anti-bullying campaign was not originally on my mind. It wasn't something that had aspirations to do as a child, even a young adult. And I was running my martial arts studio, and I was teaching the martial arts for surrounding cities, about 3 different cities where my studio was in the beach city. I was in Redondo Beach, California, and Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach, excuse me, and Torrance are right next to it. So there was a huge child molestation case going on in the city. It was 1985, and there was a big case going on, and the city was in an uproar. The people evidently were found not guilty, but the city was still in an uproar. And so I was teaching for Manhattan Beach's Parks and Recreation Department, and they asked me, could I start a program that was not a full-blown karate program, but one that would teach children safety, awareness, self-confidence, anti-bullying, racial harmony, and all of that. And so I took on the challenge, and since 1985, I've had the pleasure to start off as a Young Alert and Aware program, and we developed it into changed the name to the Bullies Be Gone Project, and that's where we are now. And I've taught over 9,000 children and teens and adults since 1985 the tech skills and techniques of the program.
Wow, that is quite an accomplishment. You must be applauded for that. I'm sure a lot of hard work and dedication has gone into that. So, can you tell us some more about the anti-bullying program that you offer in schools? For example, what format does it take? How do you determine? I understand that you work with modules. So, what modules apply to which group?
Yeah, it started off when I first started it off, Dipchand, and I decided, yeah, I'm going to do this. I asked myself, okay, how are you going to do it? What are you going to specifically put together? And what I did was I separated into age groups. I started off with ages 5 to 7. It was when I first did the program, it was originally for ages 5 to 15. So I said I need to separate them into age groups because the 15-year-olders definitely don't learn the way the 5 and 7-year-olders do. So it was 5 to 7, one group, 8 to 10, another group, 11 and 12-year-olders, and then 13 to 15. Now, over the years, it's now a program for 4th grade through 12th grade. So it's ages 9 through 18, actually, and adults. So now it is a lifelong curriculum for the schools that can be taught online, 100% online. And one of the major goals that we're trying to do now and accomplish is we're trying to convince administrators that the program, anti-bullying, social skills, racial harmony, needs to be taught in the schools, very similar to academic programs. Now, what that means is, many times I've done it myself. I've gone to a school, I've given a 2-hour presentation in front of 300 students, an anti-bullying presentation, and then I leave. Well, some students will absorb some of it, some students will not. But what will happen is it's not sustaining. And so I decided, and we're telling administrators, in order for it to be sustaining, we have 19 modules. Each module in the program covers a specific area of awareness, anti-bullying, safety, self-confidence, mental toughness. All those areas are covered in one module, excuse me. But the other thing that's important, we stress poetry, original poetry, and original music, and role playing. We don't know of any other anti-bullying program that does that with poetry. And kids like poetry. They perform, they get up, they do role playing. Well, if you're doing all that, you're learning anti-bullying and social skills at the same time, then you're absorbing it, and it then hopefully becomes a mindset, not only for the children, not only for the children that are fearful of bullying or being bullied, but for the bullies themselves to change their mindset so that they do not continue to commit inappropriate behavior.
I imagine that this is a bit away from the norm, the way people lecture and you listen to them with your poems, etc. I imagine the kids are more receptive, and as a result, they are more likely to learn faster that way.
Yeah, they can relate to it, Dipchand, much more, and because all the poetry in both of my books that are part of the program, all the poetry is original. Nothing, I haven't borrowed anything from anyone. All the music is original. And the way that I've been able to do that and put it all together is that I was raised as a child, as a teen, and as a young adult in Kansas City, Missouri, during times of overt and mandated racial segregation.
Wow.
So when I'm talking to children, I tell them I know what it feels like to feel insignificant. I know what it feels like when you feel like nobody likes me and they always pick on me. I says it happened to me as a child because that's the way I felt. I'm 7 or 8 or 9 years of age, and myself and my parent, we're at a train station in Arkansas, and my aunt has to direct me and to make sure I go to the right restroom, that I go to the restroom that says colored only as opposed to the restroom that says white. And so what is that doing to the mindset of a child? The child is confused. What's wrong with me? How come I can't go there? How come I can't do that? So I pass all that information on to the children. And when I tell these stories, and I have a lot of stories to tell that apply to the anti-bullying, that apply to racial harmony, they know it's real. It's not anything I've made up. And children love stories just like adults love stories. And so from the stories, we go into the learning, then we go into the training, and we go into the role playing. And we go in, it's interactive. It's comprehensive, it's interactive, and it's also fun for children to learn. Excuse me.
Well, I imagine I can see why they would be more impressed and more likely to pick up faster because the way it's presented. And as you mentioned, going back to what you experienced early on in your life, I mean, no one would in their right minds would want to experience anything like that. So having the ability to pass that on to the now generation and being part of having that experience, I think would create a deep impression on them as to how things were and how they can assimilate or absorb that information in their lives in the future. So I think you're doing a fantastic job with that, and I say again, I very much commend you for that. Now, you did mention that you do cater to adults as well. How does that happen?
Well, it's interesting, Dipchand, that you mentioned that. As I was teaching the program, and let's say I'm teaching over the years, I've been teaching it since 1985. And I'm teaching, and I've had adults come up to me and say things like this, parents of the kids that I was teaching, and says, I had a wife, she came up one time, she said, and a mother of the child I was working with, she said, my husband still is going through how he was bullied, and he's 40 some years of age. As a child, he's still remembering it. And I says, I know exactly what you mean, because I still, after a half a century, I still, when I tell the stories, I feel the segregation in my mind. Now, I got rid of the hate decades ago, thank goodness, or I wouldn't be here. And so we're teaching children at the same time who are, okay, I want to be a bully because I hate this and I hate that. And we go down and we mentor them and we talk to them and we do the role playing. And then we have other children. This is what's really impacting. When children repeat the poetry, I have one title of a poem called Hateful Words. And the child repeats hateful words to other children, the poem itself. And the child acts out what the poem is saying. Each stanza has a meaning to it. There's an illustration that goes with each poem. And each one has a has a theme or a main idea. Well, even with me doing it and doing the presentation and the training, it many times and oftentimes has more of an impact when a child is speaking to another child and saying, and they're standing in front of you, hateful words, and they're saying all the stanzas and the rhyming and everything. And the child is looking at another child, his or her age, and saying, wow, okay. And if this is done in a repetitive fashion, it's just like in a repetitive fashion, then it's more likely sustaining, because anti-bullying programs in schools have been proven to be only 32% effective. Well, 32% effective leaves 68% that's not effective.
That's right.
And so that's too wide of a gap. So we have to close that gap.
Absolutely. And again, the way how you've sort of structured your program, it lends, I guess, a new way of learning. And from all indications, you're quite successful with it. One of the things that stood out in this last couple of minutes that you were speaking is your ability to leave the hate behind. And I remember Nelson Mandela, when he left Robben Island's prison, he said, if I kept the hate with me, even though I'm outside, I would still be in prison. So
yes,
again, so your ability to be able to do that, I'm not in your shoes, so I can't begin to imagine what you have been through. So again, I mean, that is amazing that you were able to do that. So kudos to you for that. So going back to the program itself, what success have your programs had in terms of, let's say, testimonials, the amount of people you reached out to, and to what do you attribute that success?
I have tons of testimonials from children and adults also, and which are available to anyone who wants to see those testimonials. What has happened, and the reason when I teach the program, or now my wife is also helping me teach the program. We've been married for a couple of years, and he's really stepped in and helped me a great deal. When I teach the program, after every session, let's say, it used to be 6 weeks. Let's just take, for example, it used to be a 6-week program as opposed to a year-round program now. After the 6 weeks of training, I will stand in front of a class of maybe 20, 25 children that I've trained for 6 weeks. Maybe they're any age group, but let's take the 8 to 10-year-olders.
Right.
And I'll ask them, I says, I want you to be candid with me. What did you get from this program? Or what did you not get from this program? And so that's the first question I'll ask them. They'll raise their hand, they'll tell me, or I have them write it out, the older children. Then I'll ask them this question. I say, do you think your friends who have not taken this program know what you've learned in the last 6 weeks, about anti-bullying, about social skills and racial harmony? Over 35 years of teaching the program, Dipchand, not one kid has ever said, my friends know this. They all say, my friends don't know this. And I said, do you think they should know it? They said, yes, they should know it. All kids should know it. Parents have said to me, what you're teaching the children, adults need to know that. Because much of the bullying in the office place, in the workplace and so many other different places, bullying is a part of that concept also, or that environment. And so what we do is that the adults get a big benefit from it, because they learn along. I encourage children and parents to work together on the anti-bullying and the poetry and the skills. Parent, read this poem to your child 2 or 3 times. then have your child read it back to you 2 or 3 times. So how are you going to read it? You're going to read it with voice inflection. You're going to read it with uh, with nice strong intonation. You're going to read it so it's powerful, it's impacting, it's emotional. Then listen to your child read it and have them read it the same way. And then all of a sudden you'll have children as young as 9 years of age reading and performing a poem as if they were highly trained in the arts. And so it's the testimonial over a period of time. They've been heartwarming, and they're very heartwarming. I have letters from children. I have letters from parents and other administrators. So I hope that answers your question. It's been a life. It's been 35 years plus.
I think you mentioned, Al, the last time we spoke that you had a testimonial from a 14-year-old. Was it that really stood out?
Yeah, this one I actually have on my website. I have the letter.
Right.
And what happened was that we were doing a video of my Bullies Be Gone project poetry, and we were going to do a video, and it was going to have original music that we wrote for the poem, anti-bullying and social skills music. And so what I did, I had children and their parents to send in their resumes. And as they would send in the resumes, we'd say, okay, we want to audition you and you and you, this child, this child, this child, this child for poetry, this child for music. So for the 14-year-older, it was for music. We sent her the song, the theme song called Bullies Be Gone of the program. And she would practice the song, and we asked to send her tape of her practicing and her voice performance. So we listened to it. It was good, but it wasn't quite where we wanted it to be. Then her mother called me and said, Mr. Johnson, her first name was Marla, said, Marla wants to write you a letter. Is it okay? I said, sure, absolutely. So I had no idea what she was going to write. And she wrote in the letter, and just in summary, to paraphrase, she said, the words of the song made me realize, she said, I've been bullied ever since I was in the kindergarten. So now she's 14. She said, the words of the song got to me, and they made me instantly realize that I am not the one with the problem, but the bully is the one with the problem. And she said, thank you, Mr. Johnson. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. And thank you for helping change the world. And I was like, wow.
I can imagine that makes you get chills up your spine.
Yes.
And again, to see young people react this way is truly heartwarming, and it gives a message of hope for the future in this age of turmoil, with so many young kids on the streets and incarcerated, led to prostitution and all these horrible things that kids find themselves in. It certainly lends some hope to the future. So that's a really good thing that you're doing with the kids out there. Now, I have a question here. I'm not sure this is something that people normally ask, but I thought, you know what? When you hear the word perpetrator, you immediately want to crush your boot down on that person. And sometimes what you have to do really is to sit back and try to put yourself, it's not a question of condoning. You try to put yourself in the perpetrator's shoe and wonder why him or her or whoever it is did what they did. So on that note, my next question is, how about the bullies themselves? Is there some sort of rehab program for them?
The rehab program for the bullies themselves, glad you brought that up, is some of the poetry. There are 78 poems in the main book, and 78 illustrations. And I would say some of the poems speak directly to the bullies themselves. Some of them speak to a child who's being bullied or fearful of being bullied. Some of it actually speaks to the parent. So what happens is, when we're telling bullies in the program itself, it says, imagine yourself. I remember doing a skit at a junior high school where I was teaching. And it was a racial harmony skit. And I wrote the skit out, and we had about 9 children of all ethnic groups. School happened to be a school that had various ethnic groups there, perform it in an assembly in front of their classmates. Well, the performance was basically, if you are the way it's performed, like we watch movies and we listen to music and all that's impacting and words are impacting. So what we have bullies do, and we just did this, myself and my wife, at a school that we were training. It was 6th to 8th graders. And she went around and she had the children actually do scenarios. Says, I want you to do this scenario. And you are the bully. And you perform this way. And then let's see the reaction that you get. So through this performance, let's say all of a sudden this kid's a bully. And they're performing like a bully. And the other kids are seeing them. And then they're seeing a transition or a transformation by the interaction that's going on. I'll even get up sometime and say, I'm the bully. I'll get on my knees because I'm usually bigger than most of the kids, except for the high school kids. They're bigger than I am. And I will get on my knees and I say, I'm the bully. And I will grab somebody by the collar and act like I'm the bully. Or I'll have them be the bully and I'll get on my knees and they'll grab me. And then we will interact and say, what would you do in this situation? How would you act? What would you say? Okay, what's making you bully this other kid? What's causing you to want to be dominant like that? Is that something that you want to carry for the rest of your life? And then we have kids poems that tell bullies, what you're doing may seem like fun, but it's not fun because it could scar this kid for their entire life. Is that what you really want to do? So we keep training them that way over and over again in a sustaining fashion.
It's very heartening to hear that you've taken the time to address the bullies themselves as opposed to just the bullied. So, that's fantastic that you were able to do that. So keep on doing that. It's really great that you've taken this step. Now, moving forward, how can we get young people to open up when they've experienced bullying but are afraid to come forward?
What we have to do is convince them. First of all, we have to communicate with them properly. And communicate simply could be just a step of understanding, okay, what do you like to do? Or how do you like to do that? And talk to them about maybe you like computers. Oh, you like computers, and so forth and so on. So in other words, we have to get them to understand and realize that we're on their side. Then we have to say, all right, if you're being bullied or if anything, whatever is making you feel uncomfortable is really not your fault. What's making you feel uncomfortable is the fault of the person or persons that are making you feel uncomfortable. So you don't want to hold it inside. When you hold it inside, it grows like a cancer cell that goes untreated. It will get larger and larger and larger and larger. And now we don't want that. So it's okay for you to open up. It's okay. In fact, it's a thing that you should do, and it will make you feel better. If you open up to me and just tell me, I was teaching at a junior high school, and I got the message that a kid had a knife in his locker. And I knew the kid, and I asked him about the knife in his locker, and he showed it to me, and we solved the whole problem simply because we had a good communication.
Well, that certainly sounds like, again, you have a practical approach and it seems to be working. So, that's very helpful in that regard. I have one final question for you, but before I get to that, I just want to go through some contact information for our group. There are no limitations to gender, age, nationality, or ethnic group. All walks of life can participate in our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Our phone number is 437-889-8329, And our email address is info@voiceofmen360.org. Our website is www.voiceofmen360.org. You can find us on all social media, Facebook group/page. Join our group so you can see our daily activities. Please invite your friends as well. Our other social media platforms are Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. We want to reach out to more people and help more. Please continue to support us. Thank you. So, Al, here's the final question for tonight. What are your goals ultimately? What are some of the achievements you hope to accomplish in the end?
Uh, I, I hope to accomplish, and we hope to accomplish in the Bullies Be Gone project, we hope to accomplish a branding of the Bullies Be Gone project across. We're in California. We want it to be across California. We want it to be nationwide, and we want it to eventually be international, even in other languages. And so what we're trying to do is say, what we want to do is that we want the Bullies Be Gone project curriculum and what we offer, the poetry, the music, the messages, and we want it to be something that pops up, number one, if someone is thinking, oh, my child, we need to talk to someone about anti-bullying, because we think and we feel we're that impacting and that powerful. So we want this to spread to millions of children, teens, and adults.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We do have a couple of questions from the audience. So the first one is, have you looked into the psychology of men being bullied?
I have not looked at the site. I've heard about the site, but we have not looked directly into the psychology. We have not. We will do so. Thanks for the suggestion.
Okay, and another question, are you currently working with any organizations or schools, which I think you've mentioned, in the USA and or Canada?
We're working in, we just finished a program with the organization with the school district, a particular school in the second largest school district in the United States, the Los Angeles Unified School District. We just finished a 9-week training with that particular school, and we have been in contact with, we are in contact with other districts to possibly set up programs for them. We have not gone to Canada yet. We are open to that because we know bullying is a worldwide thing, as not just in the United States. So we're open to that, and we're ready to do it.
You will certainly be welcome here. And finally, can you share your contact information for everybody on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, the contact information should be at the website is anti, A-N-T-I, bullying, I-N-G on that, expert.com. That is the website to go to now, although there's another one flashed on the screen. So it's anti, A-N-T-I, B-U-L-L-Y-I-N-G, expert.com. If you want to email us, please email at Leslie, L-E-S, L as in Larry, E as in Easter, S as in Sam, L as in Larry again, Y as in Young, dot B as in boy, B as in boy, G as in girl, P as in Paul, at gmail.com. That's leslie.bbgp at gmail.com, excuse me. And phone number 310-489-2237 or 763-245-1170. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Al. This has been an enthralling and, if I may say, exciting 30 minutes, a little more than 30 minutes. I've thoroughly enjoyed this, and you've shared so much. You have so much to offer everyone. And as you mentioned, you're open to coming to Canada. You're doing a fantastic job in the US, and I'm more than happy, and I'm sure Canadians would welcome you here as well. So again, Al, thank you very much for this broadcast, sharing all that information with us.
Dipchand, thank you very much for having me. Appreciate that.
Thank you. You have been listening to a 30-minute broadcast with Al Johnson of Bullies Begone of California, USA. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us this evening, this morning, or this afternoon, wherever you may be, and wish you all a good speed. Thanks again, and this concludes our broadcast for today. Thank you.
That's my man.